Today, I will perform an exercise in formal logic, refuting the supposed analogy between Bitcoin maximalism and Marxist determinism. For this, we will consider some premises and the relationships between them, demonstrating that the analogy between the two is fallacious. Let's start with definitions and premises. Austro-libertarian Bitcoin maximalism represented by M. Austro-libertarian Bitcoin maximalism defends maximum individual freedom based on voluntary human action, natural rights, and criticism of collectivism and state intervention. Human action is guided by reason and the freedom of choice. Furthermore, the Austrian school, whose market laws are often used as theoretical bases by maximalists, understands that these laws do not function deterministically but as tendencies that emerge from individual choices in a free market. Marxist determinism represented by D. Marxist determinism is the view that human history and individual actions are determined by pre-existing material conditions and economic structures. There is no space for freedom of choice, as all actions are seen as the result of inevitable economic and social conditions. First, the premises regarding Bitcoin maximalism represented by M1. Austro-libertarian maximalism values individual action and choice. M2. Human choices are based on reason and voluntary consent. M3. Interaction between individuals in the market is voluntary and not determined by coercive external conditions. M4. The Austrian school considers that market laws reflect observed economic tendencies, but do not rigidly determine individual actions, as human behavior is influenced by free and rational decisions. M5. Market laws are general tendencies that emerge from voluntary interactions between individuals, and not fatalistic principles that predict or control actions precisely. Second, the premises regarding Marxist determinism represented by D1. Marxist determinism holds that human history and actions are determined by material and economic forces, e.g., class relations. D2. Individual freedom is limited or non-existent, as human actions are determined by external forces like the economic structure of society. D3. Social and historical changes occur as a result of a predetermined evolution of material conditions, not as a result of free, individual choices. Now, let's move to the structure of the analogy. The suggested comparison between maximalism and Marxism can be expressed as follows. M and D are analogous. That is, just as Marxist determinism views human actions as predetermined by material conditions, Austro-libertarian Bitcoin maximalism also imposes a certain determinism by using market laws to predict and guide human actions. Moving forward, we reach logical refutation. Step 1. Check if there is a real comparison between M1 Bitcoin maximalism and D1 Marxist determinism. M1. Maximalism values individual action and choice. D1. Marxist determinism views human actions as predetermined by material and economic forces. The relationship between M1 and D1 is contradictory here, because maximalism holds that individuals are free to act according to their reason, while Marxist determinism denies this freedom, attributing all human actions to inevitable external forces. Therefore, the analogy fails. Step 2. We verify the relationship between M to freedom of action and choice, and D to freedom limited or non-existent. M2. Human choices are based on reason and voluntary consent. D2. Individual freedom is limited or non-existent, as actions are determined by external forces. If choices in maximalism are voluntary and based on rational decisions M2, they cannot be compatible with the deterministic view of Marxism D2, where freedom of choice is virtually eliminated. Thus, the analogy does not hold. Step 3. We analyze the role of the state and external intervention. M3. In maximalism, market interaction is voluntary and not coercive, rejecting any state intervention. D3. Marxist determinism considers social changes as the inevitable result of material conditions, leaving no room for free, individual choices. Austro-libertarian maximalism rejects coercion precisely because it violates individual freedom and distorts the market laws that emerge from it, while Marxist determinism does not recognize this freedom as fundamental, subordinating it to material forces. Thus, the relationship between M3 and D3 reveals an irreconcilable difference. Step 4. We refute the claim about the determinism of market laws. M4. Market laws reflect observed economic tendencies, but do not rigidly determine individual actions. M5. These laws emerge from voluntary interactions and serve as general descriptions, not fatalistic predictions. Marxist determinism D1, D3 holds that human actions are rigidly determined by external forces. Meanwhile, the Austrian school, a theoretical basis for many maximalists, asserts that market laws are emergent regularities that depend on voluntary and rational decisions. In summary, this critique sails by assuming that market laws are deterministically applied by Bitcoin maximalism, when the Austrian school itself rejects this view. Market laws describe general tendencies of economic coordination in an environment of freedom and do not determine behaviors in a fatalistic manner. Finally, we reach the logical conclusion. The analogy between Austro-libertarian, Bitcoin maximalism and Marxist historicist determinism is fallacious, based on the following points. First, maximalism defends individual freedom as a central principle M1, while Marxist determinism completely denies it D1. Second, in maximalism, choices are voluntary and rational M2, while in Marxist determinism, they are limited by external forces D2. Third, maximalism rejects state coercion and any external imposition M3, while Marxist determinism considers social changes as inevitable and beyond human control D3. Fourth, market laws, according to the Austrian school, are not deterministic but rather emergent tendencies from voluntary interactions M4, M5. Therefore, their application by Bitcoin maximalism does not imply rigid determinism. The attempt to compare maximalism with Marxist determinism sails at its logical core because these two positions are fundamentally opposed in their views on freedom, individual agency, and the role of external forces. To strengthen the conclusion and expand the reflection on its refutations, we can bring examples of economic laws or mathematical theories that will clarify the Austrian and maximalist worldview. The Gresham law states that, when two currencies with different intrinsic values circulate in the same market, the bad money tends to drive out the good money from circulation, as people prefer to spend the currency of lower intrinsic value and hoard the one of higher value. In the context of Bitcoin and Austro-libertarian maximalism, this law is reinterpreted. Bitcoin is seen as the good money that emerges in a deregulated market, largely free from state interference, while fiduciary currencies or less reliable alternatives would be the bad money. In maximalism, there is a belief that in a truly free market, individuals would prefer Bitcoin as the primary currency due to its resistance to inflation, decentralization, and security. However, unlike rigid determinism, maximalism considers that this adoption occurs through free and rational choices, not external imposition. If eventually, Bitcoin does not renew itself and its protocols and improvements are not competitive, Bitcoin will no longer be the good money, making way for other cryptocurrencies or any form of money that is more suitable. The Gresham law, as we see here, operates as a natural and observable tendency, but not as a deterministic rule that eliminates human logic and individual freedom in the digital currency market. Another important point is game theory, which is often applied to Bitcoin to explain how aligned incentives lead system participants, e.g., miners, developers, and users, to adopt cooperative and sustainable behaviors. For example, the Bitcoin consensus protocol proofs of work creates a Nash equilibrium where no rational agent has an incentive to deviate from the rules, as doing so would be economically counterproductive. The approach to these concepts is aligned with the Austro-libertarian view, which values freedom and rationality as central factors in human action, not historically predetermined forces that affect the economic and socio-psychological landscape. In summary, in maximalism, both the Gresham law and the incentives of game theory depend on individual freedom of choice. There is no deterministic force that obliges the adoption of Bitcoin or compliance with its rules, but rather an emergent voluntary coordination that is based on rational incentives. Finally, moving beyond this in-depth reflection, we can look at what Bitcoin maximalists actually talk about in their real-world dimensions, and the mistakes often made in their name. In an interview on the 𝕸𝖎𝖊𝖑 podcast episode 53, Andreas Antonopoulos discussed his views on Bitcoin maximalism. He emphasized the importance of maintaining an open mindset and not clinging rigidly to a single vision or cryptocurrency. 𝕸𝖐𝖆𝖊𝑑 believes that the cryptocurrency ecosystem is vast and diverse, and innovation can emerge from different forces. He warns against the tendency to discredit other cryptocurrencies or technologies, as this can limit the potential for learning and growth within the community. However, he also shares an open vision about competition in the crypto space. On various occasions, he expressed that competition is not harmful to Bitcoin, but rather a natural and necessary part of ecosystem development. He believes that the competitive market helps refine the value and use of cryptocurrencies while educating people about the different functionalities and characteristics of each coin. 𝕸𝖐𝖆𝖊𝑑 often argues that Bitcoin does not need to destroy competitors to succeed, but that the crypto space as a whole can grow and strengthen when there are various coins. He sees this diversity as an opportunity for Bitcoin to stand out even more, because the failures and mistakes made by other cryptocurrencies can demonstrate the superiority of Bitcoin's principles in terms of security, decentralization, and durability, as well as help improve its technical aspects. In his lectures and writings, like the book Mastering Bitcoin, he frequently reinforces that competition is beneficial to the ecosystem as long as users are well informed and can distinguish the true advantages of Bitcoin compared to other alternatives. According to him, Bitcoin maximalism is not about thinking that all other coins are scams, but about recognizing Bitcoin as the best coin and the only cryptocurrency worthy of trust for your financial future. We also have Jimmy Song, a developer and educator of Bitcoin, with a view more aligned with maximalism. He believes that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency, with the necessary characteristics to be a secure and decentralized store of value. Song argues that other cryptocurrencies often lack security, decentralization, or have unsustainable economic models. He warns against excessive enthusiasm for altcoins, as he believes this can divert attention from the fundamental principles that make Bitcoin unique. However, he also believes that competition with other coins is good for the ecosystem as, according to him, this competition can help improve Bitcoin's supremacy. In his book The Little Bitcoin Book, Song defends that Bitcoin does not need to eliminate competitors to prosper, but that the competitive market contributes to the development and maturation of the crypto space. He argues that the existence of other coins can validate Bitcoin's principles and educate more people about the value of decentralized money, thereby stimulating adoption and perception of Bitcoin as the leader in the sector. According to Song, Bitcoin maximalism is not about ignoring competition, but about understanding that Bitcoin is unique in its properties, its fixed supply, security model, and decentralization. Other cryptocurrencies may have short-term users, but Bitcoin has long-term value.